How are you, Shane?
I am fabulous.
Nice to meet you in person, more or less.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. I got to ask, right? You're a country artist, correct? Right? We're playing your
Yes,
song in
country singer
country.
songwriter. Yes.
People look at names, and I'm as guilty as the next person. When I saw an email with the artist name of Sugar Sweet Redemption, the last thing I expected was a country song. Where'd you come up with the name? And have you always been a country fan?
Well, the name came from my nickname, which is Sugar, and the redemption part kind of came afterwards. The band name was originally supposed to be Redneck Redemption, but the guy that helped start it got married and had kids. So shout out to Andrew.
So life kind of got in the way of where that one was going at first.
Yeah, it wasn't really supposed to go as far as it did. It was really supposed to be a joke in a sense, and then we just carried it.
Well, it's funny sometimes how life turns that way for people. Stuff that you don't intend to carry
Right.
forward or have no real intention end up being bigger than you planned. Were you shocked, or are you shocked where you are now at this point?
Oh yeah, definitely. I look back and all of my friends that have carried me through, like have been my fans and my friends for the whole 9 years. Because after my dad died, which is what Proud of Me is originally about, um, I had to figure out a way to recuperate, to grieve, and it wasn't really working. And in fact, my grieving therapist actually basically fired me, or the other way around, because she's like, "You need a family therapist, not a grieving therapist." So I'm like, "What am I supposed to do now?" And so about a month later, I go onto a local campus. I was just, I didn't know how to handle it. I was sad and depressed. And I ran into a guy named Andrew, and we just hit it off really quick. Um, I've been on campus at that time for probably a couple of years, and those friends had already graduated. So I was looking for a new way to get a new way to find out what am I go what do I go from here.
Yeah. So music became a therapy for you in essence.
Oh yeah, originally it did, yeah.
Now, do you see that going forward with, as you mentioned, Proud of Me, helped with your father, as you continue writing and working on your music? Do you see that in the same way as you look at other things around the world or in your life? Is it affecting your writing style?
Um when I think about my dad, you mean thinking about my dad?
Well, in general, the same way as the one song was influenced or helped you
Right.
with dealing with your father, as you write now, if you've had a bad day about, I mean, at work or something else, does that factor into your writing the same way your father passing factored into that song? Do you find yourself doing that, or is your music a little bit even more beyond that?
It's a little bit more beyond that. It's just really what I'm in the mood for, because I plan my writing style out. Like when I'm getting up and going to work, I have these ideas in my head and I don't have anything around me but my mind, because I can't really use my phone at work.
Yeah.
So there's no pen, there's no paper, there's no And I know a lot of artists struggle with that. So that's why I have other fellow artists to help write. Because I'm not. At first, I struggled with writing. I'm sure a lot of people do
Mhm.
or did, and I'm so used to rhyming that I don't look at the musical sense and letting it make sense.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So you've got all these ideas in your head, but you got no way to put them down because of work and scheduling and everything. How
Right.
how are you able, damn screen. How are you able to remember them uh through time and that? Have you developed a system?
Um, I will keep it in my head as long as I can. And then when I get time, I will use my phone or write it down. And I have a lot of free time at work
Yeah.
or when I get off work to, figure that out.
Yeah.
So,
You enjoy the writing process part of it, or is that the harder part? Just you enjoy the performing a lot more.
the writing is definitely a hard task because, like I said, rhyming is, and every song doesn't necessarily have to rhyme. I know this, but that's what I focus on, and that's my downfall. But the performing part, I get nervous a lot. Why? I don't know because when I'm in front of people, I'm not nervous. When I'm in front of 50 people, I'm not nervous when I'm singing.
Yeah.
But when I'm in front of, like right now, I hate to admit it, but I'm nervous right now. But I look at the big picture and how what I'm going to say
Yeah.
and how it's going to affect the rest of either the speech, song, or lyric.
Well, I mean, that's a tough part of society and life anymore, right?
Right.
You say the wrong thing and somebody you don't know or whatever hears it or records it, and next thing you know, you're all over TikTok or whatever, and you're an instant
Right.
superstar, but it's for the wrong reasons. So, um, so
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I've never been that famous. I guess I haven't said the wrong thing yet. So, anyways, no need to be nervous. We'll get through this fine. Um, how often are you out performing? You mentioned you enjoy the performing part of it.
Well, I'm not a performing artist. Like I don't gig at all because I don't have a
Okay.
band.
Yeah.
But and I'm a social media singer songwriter.
Interesting. It's fascinating to me. I started in radio in 85, 1985. And so to see the changes, from one of my first interview was a band that walked in off the street and they had a vinyl record of 45 and they were promoting it, to now you're not even out performing, right? Your social media and what the
Right.
computer and the internet and the fact, the ability to go around the world in mere seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. How do you keep up with the social media aspect? Because it's a nonstop.
Yeah, it is. With no manager, um, I do it all myself on the management part. But technically, I don't because when you have the fans, they
Mhm.
help share.
Yeah.
They help um, get the word out. And I used to be a social media manager for other artists. And whenever they were in Nashville, or whenever they were outside of Nashville, they would be 2,000 miles away from Nashville and want to be a part of CMA Fest. And I'm like, all you have to do is use hashtags, and you're right there in the mix of CMA Fest.
Is it truly that simple? I mean,
It can be, yeah. Like if my favorite artist is performing at CMA Fest, but I'm so far away that I'm not able to go, I can record one of their songs
mhm.
and like cover one of their songs and be right there with them in the talk of it.
It's interesting. Through a lot of the interviews, one of the toughest parts a lot of artists tell me is the dealing with the social media and the online aspect. And it sounds like this is your cup of tea, and
Yeah.
that makes it easier for you. Have you seen that experience help you to get your music out there and broaden your fan base?
Oh yeah. I'm a very sociable person. So the night that we had our last performance on campus, we had 50 people on our page that night.
How does it make you feel when you look back from where as you start to where you've got to at this point? Are you happy with the progression?
Oh yeah. It's overwhelming in a good way because I started on camp. I didn't have a garage band. I didn't know anybody. I I was trying. In fact, I was so busy trying to network, and I had this big head that I tried to tag all these famous people like Martina McBride, Brantley Gilbert's drummer,
Yeah.
and I made this T-shirt campaign that failed. It was a breast cancer awareness campaign, T-shirt campaign, and no one would buy the shirts because they didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And I'm not just gonna buy something from somebody and not know anything about them.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
is it something, that kind of campaign or program, you would look at doing again as your reputation grows, or do you think it's a viable thing for you?
It would be something I would rather look into in the future. Lately, I've been trying to open up my own online store to sell my own products, and it's kind of easy. It's easy, but I'm not very good with the aspects of a store than I am the social media.
You and I should talk. One of my biggest failings is keeping up with social media, and I know a lot of people listening would say the same thing. When you started on this journey and the music started developing and everything else unexpectedly for you, as you say, did you start setting a goal for yourself where you wanted to be now that it's on a roll, or are you still just kind of going flying by the seat of your pants?
Well, that's a good question because since I network a lot, I find different ways to reach out to different people. And I don't have the same uh, co-writers or the same songwriters. I don't have the same people that I network with every single day, like a
Yeah.
lot of artists do.
Okay.
Um, One of my main people that I network with is Dylan Johnson, that sung and co-wrote "Proud of Me." We found each other via Facebook, and when we got done, he sent me the video of the song, and I cried 6 times because it's a very emotional song and a very relatable song.
Well, obviously, what it's based around what you said.
Right.
Yeah. How important is video, you think, these days for promoting your music?
It's definitely probably 95% of the your brand,
Really?
because yeah, oh yeah, you need to know, people need to know what your brand is about.
How does no, you mentioned earlier talking about with your writing style and the rhyming. Does that feature into how you brand yourself so that your music is a certain style? Is that part of your branding as well, would you think?
Yeah, I grew up listening to Brooks and Dunn and Diamond Rio and Reba and all of the 80s and 90s artists.
Yeah.
And I try to mix their style into my own and see what I come up with.
So the average person listening, a lot of times I'll hear from listeners and other artists, they'll say, geez, I hear a little bit of this artist or that artist in there. Is Do you want people to recognize that in your music? Because some artists, they don't want to be, geez, that sounds just like Brooks and Dunn. Obviously you don't, right?
Right.
But
Right.
because there's only one of you. But is that something you would enjoy, or is it something that maybe, being told that you sound like, a Garth Brooks? No, that's not what I'm after.
Right. I mean, I want to find my own style, but I also have to find it. And I've been doing this almost 9 years, and that seems pretty difficult when I don't when I don't have a band or anything.
Yeah.
So I solely go upon my writing style and others and their writing style. Um, I'm writing with some new people this year. Dave Melanie Young from Arizona.
Okay.
My buddy John Kinsey, we wrote a couple together, and I'll call him and ask him, "What do you think about this?" Or he'll say, "You should add this. You should get rid of that." Help me out when it comes to writing.
Is that important?
I'm not a writer that can write on my own because, like I said, I don't know the entire music. I don't play guitar or anything. So I would definitely find other people that where I lack, they pick up. So
I think that's a positive thing, and not
yeah,
trying to blow smoke up your ass in any way.
right,
A lot of people have a hard time reaching out to others and asking for help. They have what they have, but you obviously, um, I want to word this right because I don't want it to sound insulting, but you recognize where you're maybe missing something or whatever, and so you're
oh
reaching
yeah.
out to others to fill in those gaps, which I think is really good. Um, are you planning on down the road, as your writing improves and as your music grows, hoping to not have to reach out to these people as much, or is it something you're even contemplating? You enjoy that part of it.
I really enjoy the networking, and the more I have with co-writers, the better. Because I wish a lot of people would help smaller artists like myself, but a lot of big artists are all about the money, especially the signed ones.
Yeah, seems you get to that point and you cross that line, and you forget about the people that were there beside you all during the
Right.
journey before. You mentioned about not having a band. Is that in your plans to put together one for the future, or how does that factor?
I would like to, but I went into a studio once and it was horrible. Well, it wasn't horrible. It was four or five of us. I don't remember the exact number, but we spent almost $500 between us, and nobody was on the same picture.
Oh,
We recorded I Can Only Imagine, and it wasn't a good copy,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it was still memorable, but it wasn't. We neither one of us was on the same page.
So before you get to that next level where you're recording with the same people, you got to find the right people to fill the gaps that are,
Right?
yeah. And it's never an easy process, isn't it?
No, not at all.
No. Do you have a target, like where you want to be in another 5 years, or
Um. Well, it doesn't take much to impress. Like I said, especially to impress me because I wasn't expecting to take this as far as it's been. So the ultimate goal would be to write for big artists without relinquishing my rights.
I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, to have a number one song and it's climbing the charts. So proud of me. So
It's not an easy task, is it? No matter where.
no, it's not.
And do you find that you're getting pulled different directions? You talk to someone like me, and then you talk to, I mean, I'm not going to use anybody else's name. I know a lot of the other people in other stations. You talk to them and they'll tell you something different, or you'll talk to different artists. Do you find you get pulled different directions that way too?
Yeah, but I also researched a lot of stuff and I spent hours trying to say, hey, is this a good idea? Should I hold off on that? Doing my own research helps me 95% on what I want to do
Mm-hmm.
in the future.
So are you just music wise, are you just releasing singles at this point? Or I don't remember if you did you redo an EP yet or an LP?
Singles, yeah. I like singles better because I feel like they're more in sync with the fans, especially being independent.
Okay. You can kind of tune your music around what's popular and that, and not be locked
Right,
into. Yeah, it's another interesting facet where, never used to be that way. You had to do an album, right? You used to have 10
right.
songs, and you were locked in. And would you, with some of the changing dynamics with big labels and everything else, and there's as many horror stories as there is um, good stories, would you want to be involved with a larger record label if the opportunity came?
Well, if I can continue the success on my own, maybe, maybe not. If I can find more people and the people that I'm involved with stay on the same page and have the same goals, and I like being independent because you're not really looking for anything. You don't have to suck up to anybody. You're reaching out organically to the fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in other words, I don't have to sign anything to say you'll give me this many fans, but I have to pay you this much. All of my fans are organic.
I like that. I'm the same way. And that nothing, and this is personal, nothing bugs me more than somebody you see and they go, I got 100,000 followers, and you know damn well they paid for 99,000 of them. You know, it just and it doesn't prove anything, right? Because they're not real fans. They're not into your music. They're not into what you're doing. They don't support you. They're just a number on a screen. And
Right.
to me, like you said, the organic numbers, the real fans, as you said at the beginning as well, they're the ones that are going to share your posts. They're the ones that are going to share your music and that kind of thing.
Right.
And that's building a true base. So, geez, we've covered a whole lot of ground here in a short period of time. Proud of me, not proud to me. Proud. Got me all tongue tied. Proud of me, doing very well. Do you have another single ready to go down the road, or where do you go from here?
I'm gonna let this one play out for a few more weeks and see where it goes, and release a new one.
Okay.
Definitely got some more music in the works. And I'm very proud, no pun intended,
Yeah.
of the writing and seeing what transpires the next several weeks going down the road. My buddy Boomer Rowe that I'm writing with, he's just outside of Nashville, and we connected. He's been watching me and seeing how I've grown, and I'm writing with an Irish lady from Ireland.
Yeah.
And she resides in Florida. Her name is Claire Killeran.
Oh, I know that.
Had to make sure.
I know Claire. Yeah.
Had to make sure I had her last name right. We're working on some music. So my music is all over the place, but I stay true to my country roots.
Does it feel good to have so many kind of irons in the fire?
Oh yeah. I get to pick other people's brains, so to speak, and see where I get to learn more about different genres of my genre.
Yeah. I would think,
and
I would think one of the toughest parts, because I'm not a songwriter, is when you're working with different people. They all have their own different styles. So is that difficult going from one person to another in that way?
No, because music is so, there's different subcategories of one particular genre. So I tend to stick with the crowd that is in my generation, but then I would like to learn from the older generation as well, because I want to reach different fans from different generations.
Nice. This may be too personal a question, but Proud of Me was a tribute to your father, who you mentioned, who passed.
Yes.
How does your family, how did they react to the song? How did they feel about it?
They really haven't. My family is in a country. Well, my mom is. Um, I think she enjoyed it. Um, my dad was a big, huge part of us.
Yeah.
So I think it was very emotional, even for her.
Yeah, and everybody deals with pain like that and loss like
Yeah.
that in different ways. So, um, I would wonder. Some people are very private, and others are very
Right.
outgoing. So that's good. Um, we've covered a ton of things. Is there anything we've left out at this point?
Uh, wow, we have covered a lot.
Oh, I'm thorough, man. I've been doing this a while.
well, like I said, I started all of this 9 years ago, and it's been a wonderful journey, and I've grown so much. Um, if I could talk to my younger self, I probably wouldn't have done that T-shirt campaign.
They say,
Just be,
I was
just
going to say,
because it was,
yeah, I was going to say sometimes though we learn from
yeah,
those kinds of mistakes, right? Going
right,
forward. So, maybe it's not all bad in the end.
right.
Um, I just had something and it was, I do this all the time. T-shirt. No, it's gone. Whatever I was going to say is totally gone. So not unusual. When you get to my age, moments are fleeting. So I appreciate you taking the time. I really,
I thank you so much.
I love the song, the Proud of
Thank
Me.
you.
It's when I first saw the name Sugar Sweet, I'm like, you know, um, and I do it all the time. And, I shouldn't, I don't judge it. I'll still go in and listen, but I was surprised because it's not what I was expecting. Right.
Right,
And it's always cool in my books, in my world, to be surprised in that way, because I think it reminds us that uh, whether it's music or anything, things aren't always just black and white, and they aren't necessarily as they appear. Um,
right.
there was there was another band I got about a year ago, and they were called Wild Tibetan Monks, and I'm like, then it's just the name blew me away, and it's like, the hell am I going to hear here? And it turned out to be one of my favorite songs of the year released.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I know what I was going to ask. You had mentioned to me in our communication before about using this on a podcast. You do podcasting as well?
Well, I dibbled and dabbled with it one night because my brother and I we were gonna figure out what to do, and of course this was a few years ago. So, and of course I was gonna do music, of course, and I'm like, why don't I talk about my journey? What started Sugar Sweet Redemption? And I did that, and it took me 3 hours to do an 8 minute segment.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, if you continue doing them, two things. If there's anything I can do to help you in any way with it, just please reach out and ask, and I'll gladly help you with it. And if you're a fan of Sugar's music, then watch for the podcast. I'm sure you'll be promoting it on your social media and everything if and when it comes out. Um, it's a pleasure having you on. it's great to finally meet you two. We've communicated a bit. I'm looking forward to your next music. I'm excited about what you're doing. It
Thank
really
you.
sounds good. Um, for those listeners that missed the beginning of this interview, don't forget we replay the entire thing tomorrow morning, Thursday, especially for our good friends over in Europe who listen in 8 a.m. right here on KB Radio. Anything we left out that you want to add in?
I want to thank all of my fans, co-writers, and future co-writers that are going to be involved with the Sugar Sweet Redemption brand. And I look forward to 2023.